What's going on, world? DS1 Ross. I'm back. Welcome back to Sheep Stay Sleep, family. I appreciate all the support, all the people who take time and appreciate what I bring here on Sheep Stay Sleep TV. And I'm back here today once again with the Black History Month series of 2018. I will be finishing up the series tonight. So make sure y'all stay tuned because I will be finishing up the series. So I appreciate everybody who's been tuning in to the Black History Month series of 2018. Do me a favor, if you just coming through, hit the like button. Make sure you share the show because I want people to understand that Black history is very important. Because sometimes with us just living our lives every day, sometimes in the month of February, we forget that it's Black History Month. And some people say, oh, we should celebrate Black history every day. But with the hustle and bustle of life, you know, a lot of times we really don't chop it up about Black history, unless we on our platforms or if we just having a conversation or a debate about something. You know, um, Black history has been watered down, it has become commercialized. So this is why I take the Black History Month series serious. And the reason why I actually do it in February is because that's what everybody considers Black History Month. So I just try to be relevant and relative to the people and how most people think. But I'm your host, DS1 Ross, of course. This is Sheep Stay Sleep TV. And we appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all. Shout out to the Alliance, of course. And tonight on a Black History Month series, we're dealing with the Angola Three. The Angola Three. And when I found out about these brothers, man, their story just blew my mind. Because I feel like their story hasn't been properly told. I feel like a lot of us don't know who the Angola Three is, what the Angola Three is, you know. So tonight, we're going to get into their story, what the Angola Three was all about, and their significance to Black history. That's very, very important, family. Give me 1 second, family. Yeah, I'm back. So yeah, let's get into the Angola Three, family. Shout out to everybody that's coming through. We're gonna start with a short clip, and I'm playing this. Exercising fair use. Fair use. This is for educational purposes only. It's a real short clip, family, but it gets into what the Angola Three was and how it came about. So just listen up.
Albert Wood Fox had 4 decades in solitary confinement. He was imprisoned here in Angola State Penitentiary for most of his life. But it was an incident a year after his arrival at Angola that would change the course of Albert's life. A prison guard was found murdered. Albert believes he and two other inmates were framed because of their affiliation with the Black Panthers. They became known as the Angola Three.
Well, the Angola Three consists of myself, Armor Wallace, who passed away uh, in 2013, and Robert Hillary King. John's Black Panther Party while still in prison. We became politically active. We campaigned and waged various protests against institutional racism, sexual slavery, uh, brutality, and death by security staff and prisoners upon one another as a result of them, having a low level of conscience as to what was going on.
On his 69th birthday, after 43 years and 10 months in solitary, Albert Woodfox became the last of the Angola Three to be released. Albert's body finally followed his mind to freedom.
I have four beautiful great grandkids, and I would like them to be judged on their abilities, not ethnicity or the color of their skin or hair textures or physical features. I would not want them 10, 15, 20 years from now to be fighting the same battles that I've been fighting most of my life.
So, family, as y'all heard, the Angola Three was three brothers who was sent to Louisiana State Penitentiary, and a guard was killed in the penitentiary, and they were framed. These three brothers were framed for the murder of that guard and put in solitary confinement for the rest of their lives. Isn't that interesting? Black men get framed for crimes and sent to prison, wrongfully every day. It still happens to this day, you know? And like the brother was saying, he said, just like his comrade said, that they felt like they were framed for the murder because they were part of the Black Panthers. You see? See, when we talk about the Black Panthers, why nobody ever speak about the Angola Three? I never understood that. They were a story inside of a story. They were a movement inside of a movement. And this is why we're going to get into them tonight. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to read some history of the Angola Three. Y'all going to learn who they were and what they were all about. The Angola Three are three former prison inmates: Robert King, Albert Woodfox. That was the brother y'all heard just speaking on it. His name is Albert Woodfox. So you had Robert King, Albert Woodfox, and Herman Wallace were put in solitary confinement in Louisiana State Prison, also known as Angola Prison. The latter two, after being convicted in April 1972 of the killing of a prison corrections officer, each was kept in solitary confinement for more than 25 years. Do y'all hear that? Was kept in solitary confinement for more than 25 years. Two of the men served more than 40 years each in solitary, the longest period of solitary confinement in American prison history. Wow. Do y'all hear that? Robert King spent 29 years in solitary confinement before his conviction of a prison murder in 1973 was overturned and he was released. Wallace was released on October 1st, 2013, after serving more than 41 years in prison. Woodfox's unconditional release was decided on June 10th, 2015, after 43 years of solitary confinement. 43 years for a wrongful crime. So you got 29 years, 41 years, and 43 years for something they didn't do. You see? Of a wrongful crime. And then we wonder why the brother Khalif Browder, who was wrongfully accused of a crime, he hung himself. He killed himself. He came home and killed himself. This has been happening to black men forever. It's been going on. On November 20th, 2014, Woodfox had his conviction overturned by the U.S. Court of Appeals. And on April 2015, his lawyer applied for an unconditional writ for his release. Woodfox was released on February 19th, 2016. We only in 2018, family. This man just came home 2 years ago, exactly 2 years ago, after the prosecution agreed to drop its push for a retrial and accept his plea of no contest to lesser charges of burglary and manslaughter. Do y'all hear this? The prisoners have been the subject of 2 documentary films and international attention. In July 2013, Amnesty International called for the release of 71-year-old Herman Wallace, who had advanced liver cancer. He was released October 1st, 2013. The state re-indicted him on October 3rd, 2013, but he died on October 2013, before he could be rearrested. Do y'all hear this shit? This is a travesty, man. So now we're going to get into the history. The 3 men were sent to Angola prison in 1971 after each was convicted of an armed robbery. Woodfox had escaped from a Louisiana courthouse during his sentencing for armed robbery and joined the Black Panther Party. As members of the prison's chapter of the Black Panthers, Wallace and Woodfox became activists seeking to improve conditions in Angola. They helped organize petitions and hunger strikes to protest segregation within the prison and to end widespread rape and violence. Woodfox and Wallace were convicted of the 1972 stabbing murder of 23-year-old prison guard Brent Miller. You know he was a Caucasian. King was said by authorities to be linked to the murder, but was not charged. According to a July 2013 press release by Amnesty International, Woodfox and Wallace were convicted of the murder of a prison guard in 1973, yet no physical evidence links them to the crime. Do y'all hear that? No physical evidence linked them to the crime, but they were convicted of it. potentially exculpatory DNA evidence has been lost, and the testimony of the main eyewitnesses has been discredited. So these guys were railroaded, citing racial discrimination, misconduct by the prosecution, and inadequate defense. State and federal judges overturned Woodfox's conviction 3 times, while Wallace's case is once again up for review before the federal courts. Robert King was convicted of a separate prison murder. After Miller's murder in 1972, the 3 men were taken out of general population and were held in solitary confinement. In 1997, former Black Panther member Malik Rahim of Common Ground Collective, along with law student Scott Fleming, discovered that King, Wallace, and Woodfox were still incarcerated. They initiated an investigation of the case, questioning the assertions of the original investigations at Angola and raising questions about the prisoners' original trials. As a result, King was released in 2001 following 29 years in solitary confinement. His first conviction was overturned on appeal, and he pleaded guilty to a lesser conspiracy to commit murder charge. Woodfox and Wallace remained in prison at Angola and continued fighting to be released. In March 2008, Woodfox and Wallace were moved after 36 years from solitary confinement to a maximum security dormitory. Albert Woodfox had 2 appeal hearings, one in November 2008 and one in May 2010, which resulted in his conviction being overturned and his being granted full habeas corpus. Both appeals were overturned. Immediately after the first in November 2008, both men were moved out of the dormitory, separated, and returned to solitary confinement. These people are wicked, man. In March 2009, Wallace, along with a group of 15 inmates from Angola, was moved to Elian Hunt Correctional Center and placed in a newly created closed cell isolation tier. You hear how they dress up the words? That's still solitary confinement. God damn. You see how they tried to finesse the words? It's the same shit. This is crazy. In November 2010, Woodfox was moved to David Wade Correctional Center, which is 7 hours north of his family and supporters. In March 2013, a federal district court judge in New Orleans overturned Woodfox's conviction for the 3rd time. However, Louisiana Attorney General James Caldwell promised to appeal the district court's decision to more conservative Fifth Circuit, saying, "We feel confident that we will again prevail at the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. However, if we do not, we are fully prepared and willing to retry this murderer again." You see? So you're not innocent until proven guilty. That's bullshit. You're guilty until proven innocent. On November 20th, 2014, the Fifth Circuit judges upheld the lower court's opinion that Woodfox's conviction was secured through racially discriminatory means. You see? So these murders and the way these guys were judged was purely based on race. purely. Oh, they had to do it because they was black. And they were part of the Black Panthers. So they had to kill that prison guard. This is the mindset of these people. Sadistic. The 3-judge panel found unanimously that the selection of the grand jury foreperson in the 1993 indictment hearing prior to trial formed part of a discriminatory pattern in that area of Louisiana, concluding that this tactic amounted to a violation of the U.S. Constitution. The judges struck down Woodfox's conviction. The state of Louisiana refused to release Woodfox. However, and his guards refused to unshackle him or release him from solitary confinement. Do y'all hear that? So they still didn't want this man free. After it was proven for a third time. On February 12th, 2015, Woodfox was indicted a third time for the murder of the prison guard. On June 8th, 2015, U.S. District Judge James Brady ordered the release of Woodfox after overturning the second conviction for the killing of the guard. The order bars a third trial from taking place. 4 days later, a federal appeals court overturned Brady's decision and directed that Woodfox will remain in prison until the matter was resolved. They was trying to keep these brothers in there till they died, man. That's what that was. They was trying to keep these brothers in there until they died for something they didn't even do. Both men whose original sentences for armed robbery have expired. You see, so they wasn't even in jail no more for the original crimes they committed. That time been done. Allegedly suffered from a range of different medical issues, some due in part to their reported conditions of confinement and their enforced sedentary lifestyles. Prisons officials long maintained that the reason for keeping Wallace and Woodfox in solitary confinement was out of concern that they would instigate a prison uprising because of their belonging to the Black Panthers. You see? So they didn't get proper due process, none of this stuff. They was racially discriminated against, everything. Because they were part of the Black Panthers. Woodfox was finally released in February 2016 after pleading no contest to lesser charges of manslaughter and aggravated burglary. In July 2013, Amnesty International called for Herman Wallace's release on humanitarian grounds. You see? You see why our people always fight it for our humanity and to be treated like humans? These guys were being treated worse than animals. Worse than animals. You see? In July 2013, Amnesty International called for Herman Wallace's release on humanitarian grounds, saying Wallace is 71 years old and has advanced liver cancer. After decades of cruel conditions and a conviction that continues to be challenged by the courts, he should be released immediately to his family so that he can be cared for humanely during his last months. On October 1st, 2013, Wallace was granted immediate release by the U.S. District Chief Judge Brian A. Jackson of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, ending Wallace's 40-year incarceration in solitary confinement. Wallace was brought to the house of a close friend in New Orleans after being released from Angola. The state appealed the judge's orders, seeking to keep Wallace in prison. East Baton Rouge District Attorney Hilliard Moore appealed Judge Jackson's order, to which Jackson responded with a threat of charging him with a contempt of court. On October 3rd, 2013, a West, I don't understand that word, but a West Feliciana Parish grand jury indicted Wallace again for the 1972 murder of the correction officer. Herman Wallace died on October 4th, 2013, 3 days after being released from prison. Jackie Summel, an artist and Wallace supporter who was with him at the Louisiana State University Medical Center in New Orleans after his release, said, "This is a tremendous victory and miracle that Herman Wallace will die a free man." She continued, "He has 42 years of maintaining his innocence in solitary confinement. And if his last few breaths are as a free man, we've won." Amnesty International called for the release of Woodfox after the last of the two Angola Three were released from prison. He had been held in solitary confinement since 1972. Woodfox was released from prison February 2016 after spending 43 years in solitary confinement. There continue to be strong opponents of the inmate's release. Louisiana's Attorney General James Caldwell has stated that he opposes releasing the two men with every fiber of my being, and that they have never been held in solitary confinement but are in protective cell units known as CCR, closed cell restricted. Burl Cain, the former warden of Angola, repeatedly suggested that Woodfox and Wallace had to be held in solitary because they subscribed to Black Pantherism. Did y'all hear that, family? This is the story of the Angola Three. This is the story of the Angola Three. Their story was never told. It was hidden. They wanted to kill them brothers. They wanted to make sure them brothers would never see the light of day again. You see? Because they subscribed to the ideologies of the Black Panthers. So the next time y'all speak on the Black Panthers, make sure y'all speak on the Angola Three. These brothers' names were Robert King, Albert Woodfox, and Herman Wallace. The Angola Three. Peace to everybody in the chat. I'm gonna give some shout outs, and we'll be back in a minute to continue on our journey for this Black History Month series of 2018. Peace to John Doe. Shout out to you, bro. Shout out to True One. Peace to my sister Soul Alchemy. Peace to my big brother Nehemiah. Great to see you, bro. I will forever say that the Black Panther Party is the best organization since the UN. It's going to take decades and decades for people to understand that. Of course, you're right about that, True One. That's a fact. Shout out to the Queen Savine B. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Shout out to Sheena. Good to see you. I would have moved to Cuba. I want to kill myself. Oh, you talking about Khalif Browder? I mean, but the brother was wrongfully accused and he's set in jail. You know, he wasn't a criminal. He was a good guy. You know, jail affects certain people, man. You know, I never been to prison, but I've been to jail. You know, I've never did a prison bid, but I've been to jail more than a couple times. And just being in that cage could drive you crazy, man. You know, not having any access to the outside world. All you have is your thoughts. And some people, it breaks you down, man. That's why I believe Khalif killed himself. Because he couldn't live with the fact that he was wrongfully accused for something, you know? Oh, we can't start the Black Panthers again, True One. They'll be considered a terrorist group. Really, sis? That's beautiful. He was named after Huey Newton? That's what's up. Yeah, a lot of the young generations, they they try to perpetuate it, but with all the social engineering and all of the things that they have now for our children, it desensitizes them to certain things, you know? So they don't even have that mindset. They don't even care to have that mindset anymore. Shout out to Victor Lyons. Good looking for coming through, man. Oh, no doubt, man. No doubt, Vic. Y'all subscribe to Victor Lyons too. He has a lot of good streams on sports and things like that. So y'all subscribe to my man Victor Lyons too. Everybody who I'm shouting out, make sure y'all subscribe to them. They bring content, subscribe to them. Just go and check them out. Shout out to Chef JT. Shout out to my brother Jarvis Davis. Good looking for coming through, bro, and supporting. Yeah, man, 43 years of solitary confinement. Robert King was in solitary confinement for 29 years. 43 for Albert Woodfox and 40 years for Herman Wallace, you know? And Herman Wallace, back in them times, the prisons was very unsanitary. It was harsh living conditions. So the brother ended up developing liver cancer for being in solitary confinement for so long. And then they tried to send him back to jail, you know? Luckily this may not sound too good, but I'ma say it. Luckily he passed away as a free man. At least he didn't pass away in a goddamn box, you know? That's facts, JT. We definitely need to know about the Angola Three. Definitely. When we talk about the Black Panthers, we definitely need to touch on the Angola Three because they were Black Panthers. And they were kept in a hole for all of those years because they subscribed to Black Pantherism. You heard the man even admit it out his own mouth. So shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Like I said, can y'all please share the show? Always much appreciated. Nah, I don't know about Kevin Copper, but I'll check him out. I'll check him out. Maybe I'll put him in the Black History Month series for next year, Jarvis. So good looking on that. I'm glad you brought that up because I never heard of Kevin Copper. But I appreciate y'all tuned in to Sheep Stay Sleep TV. I'm your host DS1 Ross. This is the Black History Month series of 2018. The Angola Three, family. The Angola Three. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe, stay in tune with this series, and we'll be back shortly. Peace out, family.